Hi, BookTube. Welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and I'm going to do not only a little bit of an update on how my reading is going, but also I have a book haul. So originally I was going to do this earlier in the week, but then I had planned a an appointment to go to Black Castle Books and donate some books, and of course I was going to buy some, so I decided to wait until yesterday to film it, but then I ended up filming it. I decided to film it today because yesterday I got home close to 5. My appointment was at 2:30, but my mom had another appointment, and then my dad was gonna pick me up, but then there was a lot of traffic because there's a lot going on in our community with the road with construction and all that, so my dad was a little late picking me up, like kind of cutting it close to closing. Actually, it was 4 o'clock by the time he got there, but they were very nice people. And, the main woman who's responsible for the store at the time was like, "Oh, I can wait." Asked if she needed to wait with me. So, yeah, so I didn't get to film yesterday, but I am filming today, today being Friday. And then I have actually one more day off. And then I gotta go back to work for 2 days, and then I'm off on Tuesday. And again, my manager has scheduled me for an every other day I'm working kind of week. So just like a couple weeks ago in September, which is fine. I mean, I have, where I will be visiting my sister soon anyway. So, first, let's give you a little bit of an update. So I finished The Prophet of Edan yesterday, and it was really good. It was awesome. As one review said, it's even better than the first one, although I gave both of them 5 stars. And I like all the world building and expansion of the world. Again, I think I would have benefited from an audiobook as far as like all the spells and stuff, the magic, because I didn't know how to read the words. Some people are like, there's some people who part of their excuse for not reading fantasy is like all the words that to them are nonsense words that they don't know how to say. Well, it's kind of like that. I mean, obviously I still love reading fantasy. I loved reading the book, but I think if I had heard Philip Chase say the words, what the spells were, then that would have helped with that part, to know how to pronounce them. But then at the same time, there are a lot, because of course it's the magic system, so there's lots of times where characters are saying spells, so probably wouldn't benefit from an audiobook for that part. But most people probably don't really care about that. I mean, if they want to listen to the audiobook, they want to listen to it, but not necessarily just for that one thing. Anyway, but I really liked it. I didn't start book 3 until last night in bed, so technically it might have been 11 o'clock when I was reading it, 11 p.m. when I was reading it. So I read the prologue in the first chapter of Return to Edan, I think it's the last one is called. But of course, the cliffhanger ending was actually, I kind of had figured something like that would happen with how it ended. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Lots of, there is some romance in there, but it doesn't take over the plot because, of course, there are bigger things going on in the plot. So it's not like, I know that one of the criticisms I hear from people sometimes with romance and fantasy stories is all of a sudden like it takes over the plot. And we're in this world-ending crisis and people are thinking about, I'm in love with this person and we can't be together, or, oh, they got a little evil in them, so I shouldn't be in love with them, and it's like there are bigger things going on in the world than you worrying about your love life. But anyway, yeah, so it is in there, and the romance is in there, but it kind of has a conflict that is familiar to a lot of couples. The whole conflict of, we want to be together, we're definitely drawn to each other, we have feelings, we're attracted to each other, but we have all these responsibilities. We have to protect the world, so we'll be a distraction to each other. Like, that's what happened on the original Charmed with Piper and Leo, is that they were kind of people, the elders were worried, white layers and witches will be a distraction from each other and they won't do their job. And that's what Piper and Leo had to learn and to prove to the elders, that they could be together and still, do their job of protecting the world. And that's what the couple in this trilogy are having to deal with. At least mostly in the second book. While in the third, while the third book, the way it ended, the cliffhanger, I don't know what's gonna happen with the couple, is all I'm gonna say. Anyway, I kind of spent most of my time focused on that book, because I'm trying to get this done, because, again, I don't know if I'm gonna keep Kindle Unlimited. My mom made a good point about that, is that even though a lot of the reviews I heard and read said, oh, if you read a lot, you can read a lot more books if you have Kindle Unlimited, and they're free. Like, the only thing you're paying for is the subscription, which that can still add up. First of all, that can, you just can't tell because you're not paying for the individual books. Same with the streaming. Like, that's, why, like, because my mom pays for most of the streaming that we have in our house, and, she's, always worrying, well, are we watching them, and is it worth spending the money, because it will add up eventually. And, of course, these companies also keep raising the price because they're constantly competing with the other streaming networks. So it's the same thing with Kindle Unlimited versus, like, Audible or Scribd and all that, where they're going to compete with each other. And also, it will still add up. Again, I repeat, it will still add up, the cost. So, yeah, it's only one price. But they'll probably eventually raise it. I mean, they already did. Because it started out as $9.99 for each month, and now it's $12 each month. So, yeah, the individual books don't cost anything, but the subscription overall costs something. And then the other main point that my mom made is because I still like buying physical copies of books. So I still like having them. So it's nice to have a Kindle, so especially when you're traveling and stuff. But at the same time, it's like, even though, yeah, books are endless, there's so many books, and authors continue to write books. But it's like, having to, decide, like, I may as well, if I'm going to focus on the Kindle, then maybe I should just get rid of, which is not going to happen, get rid of all my physical books, because I'll focus on the Kindle books, but I don't want to do that. And then on top of that, I'm already having, like, anxiety, because, like, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep Kindle Unlimited subscription, and there's only 3 months, so it will end in December, although my cousin had said that they might give me an extra month because they'll want me to keep it. So they might give me an extra month, thinking that will convince me. And I'm like, okay, I got to get this book read because I want to get as many books as I can and be in Kindle Unlimited if I decide not to keep it. And this is a fantasy trilogy that it's long. It's not like 100 chapters, but it's still, still long chapters. Still a lot, so. Anyways, so I'm trying to get through the whole trilogy. And then, but I continued picking up, I haven't returned to the Shadow of Night, but I did pick up, this one, The Woman in White, which I've definitely gotten a little bit farther. I made progress on the last time I attempted to read it. And, like, classics, a lot of times, especially with the writing style, I have to get in the right, like, I have to focus, like, take a long period of time where I read a lot of the book, a good chunk of the book, because if I only get through a couple pages, then it won't be enough to immerse me in it to get me to inspire me to continue reading, because I'll be more focused on the easier fantasy book, or at least easy for me. The classic, they're slower. The writing style is different than, even though I'm very familiar and used to this kind of writing style now, it still can be a little bit, I need to read a good chunk of it. Like, I can't just read a couple pages and then I'm in it. But what's the guy's, let me see the guy's name. I think it's Hartright. I think that's his name. I'm trying to find his name. I think it's Hartright is the guy's name, our protagonist's name. And it does seem to have a bit of a insta-lovey kind of story going on. But I mean, it is a bit of a I think it's a bit of a mystery thriller type story for at least, So it's not gonna I don't think things are gonna go well for him. Oh, and we haven't even met the guy that they mentioned in the back description, Count Fosco. We haven't even met that guy yet. Oh, and the guy, Mr. Fairly So, one of those very eccentric people. And very much, like, he does that thing that, like, what, Miss Bennet in Pride and Prejudice, Elizabeth Bennet's mom, she's like, oh, my nerves, and he kind of does the same thing, where it's like, he's very sensitive. I mean, I wonder if he would have OCD. I don't know. He might, but yeah, he's very much, things have to be a certain way. He's extra sensitive to censor, he doesn't like loud noises or anything like, which, I don't know if there's a separate thing for sensory issues, but he does have sensory issues, and I know that is one of the traits of autistic people. So, I don't know, I feel like, though, now I'm looking for autism in characters all the time now, because I want to, and I think there are some cases where there probably are characters that would be considered autistic. Like, again, I think the main character, Prince Mishkin, I think he might be considered, by today's standards, he would have been considered autistic. So, I mean, I could be wrong, but, like, I discovered some new channels on autism. One of them is Orion Kelly, and the other one, I already discovered this woman whose name, I already forgot her name, but the two of them had a, had a talk on, I don't know if you consider a live stream, but I guess not. But anyway, they were talking about how they see autism now a lot in other people. And I have heard other people say that I've talked to that are autistic, saying that you recognize it in other people. So I'm wondering the same where, like, I recognize it now because I'm more aware of it in characters. I mean, I don't know what Mr. Fairly, but he definitely has some traits that are, like, he's extra sensitive about things, and he just wants things done a certain way. Like, he tells Hartright to, not talk so loud. He likes, being in this dark room. He, is very critical, and there are just things about him that are a little bit, he's very particular about things that catches Hartright off guard. And, but anyway, so far it's really intriguing and interesting. I'm really liking it, and, but anyway, I think, and maybe this might be the same situation that, that Jennifer Brooks is in, where, like, now she loves this one, I think it's this one, so much that she compares anything else by Wilkie Collins to this book. So I wonder if it's going to be the same thing, because so far I'm really enjoying this book. And like I said, I'm really intrigued by it and interested in what's going to happen. So that I have been thinking about reading the Canterbury Ghost, or not Canterbury. I'm getting the Canterville. I think it's Canterville Ghost. Let me look. Yeah, the Canterville Ghost. I was getting it mixed up with the Canterbury Tales. The Canterville Ghost. I was thinking about reading it. I don't want that bookmark to fall out. Sometime this month. I don't know though, because I'm kind of in a weird, in a weird place with deciding what I want to read, because I'm like kind of like, I still want to read some dark academia and spooky and Victorian novels. And then I'm also anxious about, like I'm trying not to think about how many books I'm reading. But it would still be nice to get like more than just 1 or 2 books read. I know it's not about quantity, but it'd be kind of nice to feel like I've accomplished and read some of the books on my shelf. And then of course I feel guilty because there are books that I have put down, Shadow of Night, and then I feel like, oh, I gotta pick that one up again, but then I'm not as inspired to read that. Like, I think I definitely, so far, Discovery Witch is still my favorite. At least between the two of them. I haven't read book 3 yet. But I'm not, like, Elizabethan era is not my favorite era in history anyway. I mean, now, of course, that doesn't mean I don't want to read all the Shakespeare plays. That I want to do. But historical fiction that takes place, like, not all historical fiction that takes place in that era is necessarily my first choice. Again, I do want to read all the Shakespeare plays, but so now let's get to the book haul. I'll show you what books I recently purchased. So the other day I went to the roast office, and I almost think that's better for me to either go to Black Castle or the roast office first in the month, or even just order something off their books first, because then at least there's a chance that I'll still, like, the most I'll spend is like $16. I mean, depending on how many books I buy from the roast office. But yeah, like, the most expensive books are $4. Possibly 5 or 6. I mean, it depends. But, so the first 3 books first. So this book is normally not my thing, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. I wanted to try it, and maybe this genre will be easier. I might be able to get into this genre more if I'm physically reading it, rather than sitting there watching a movie or show about this genre, and I like some of it. But that's Lonesome Dove, and this is a Western. And it's a Pulitzer Prize winner, actually. But like Mike from Mike's Book Reviews read it and loved it, and he's also a more of a fantasy horror kind of guy. So if he likes it, then maybe I'll like it. Granted, we're very different people, so I might not love it just because, another fantasy person loves the book. Doesn't mean that I'll love it. Although, there was a little extra pressure when the cashier saw that I was buying this book, and she was like, it's so great, and everything was like, oh, well, yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about it. So, and again, extra pressure here. But, not that she's going to be watching me and seeing if I'm going to read it. It's just, it'll be in the back of my mind. But I've kept thinking about it. I've even looked at the library, thought about borrowing it from the library, but then it's like, look at this. It's huge. It's a big book. It's, so, like, getting from the library is probably not the best option. It's about, 858 pages. So, it's a long one, so books this length I don't get at the library, because they're going to take me forever, and I have to keep checking them out. and I'm only going to be able to focus on this book. At least if I own it, I could put it down for periods of time if I don't want to read it and come back to it. So I don't know a lot about it. I just know it's a Western, and a lot of people really enjoy it, and it's kind of like the lives of these cowboys and them, you know, trekking through the desert and all that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna try it. You know, I could see my dad liking something like this, or at least watching the miniseries, because I do know there's a miniseries, because the saleswoman mentioned the miniseries from, I think she said came out in the 90s. So I could see this being something my dad would like. But he's like, but I don't know if he would sit down and, you know, because he has a, you know, he's a limit with length. He's not gonna read. I don't know if he would read something this long. I mean, he likes reading, but you know, I think he prefers something a little shorter than this. But yeah, so I'm gonna try it, and like, of course, as I talk about it, I'm excited to read. Now I'm motivated to pick it up, but you know, it's just because, you know, I'm thinking about it. So then we have 2 more books. They're actually fantasy books. I notice, like, I've said this before, when I go to the Roast Office bookshop, or if I go to the Black Castle Books, I don't always get the fantasy. Like, when I went to Black Castle, I almost got a fantasy with the 3 books from it. I don't know if it's a trilogy. Like, I don't know if it's a fantasy, you know, if it's a trilogy, or if there's gonna be more books in the series. I almost got them, but then I like saw, like, each book was like $7.10. Again, it still adds up, and I already spent $12 at the Roast Office, so I opted not to get it. And there were sales on mystery and nonfiction history books and historical fiction, so I stuck with that when I went to the Roast Office, which when I went to Black Castle, so. And which makes me think that that woman there I see all the time, she'll think, oh, she doesn't like fantasy, which is not true. It's just, I don't, you know, the only fantasy there is either a hardback book or mass market, so. But this time, I did get some fantasy at the Roast Office, so this is I don't know how many books are in this series. This is the book 1 of the Ancestor Saga by Laurie Holmes. So don't get it mixed up with that. There's another series that has a similar title by a more well-known author. I think it even has a similar kind of plot. But the first one is The Forbidden, which I looked at reviews of it because that's how I decide if I want to buy a book at one of these bookstores I shop at, that said this first book felt more like a prologue. And it is short. It is considerably shorter. Surprisingly, like, I was just looking at the second book because I bought the second book, as you saw, and at first glance, I don't know if you could tell, but it's a chunky book compared to this one. Okay, so there's 4 books, but there's 2 companion books. There's there's The Forbidden. There's book 2 is this one. See how chunkier it is? How bigger it is? The Daughter of Ninmah. Which I'm glad that they have book 2, because sometimes with used bookstores they might have some of the books in the series but they won't have all of them, or they only have book 1 and book 3 or something. Like, they don't even have them in order, or they don't even have book 1. And so that's why, you know, it's tricky with buying series at these bookstores. So so we have The Forbidden, Daughter of Ninmah. The companion novel to book 2 is called Captive. Book 3 is Enemy Tribe, and book 4 is The Last Kamali. And then there's a companion to that book 4 called Ragnari. So I'll probably have to get these on Thrift Books or at Book Outlet to get the rest of the series. So let me read the unforgettable story of one woman's perilous journey to save the forbidden. Reba's adopted tribe lies slaughtered behind her. Reba's lover, Duran, lays down his life for hers, and now she must use all her cunning and extraordinary powers to survive the inhospitable wilderness, alone, ensuring that Duran's sacrifice was not in vain. But Reba's battle for survival has only just begun. Hunted by savage predators and more terrifying still, the nightmarish Elderax, a murderous chieftain who will stop at nothing to possess Reba's mysterious powers for his own. Her very existence becomes a life or death chase in the pursuit and quest to reach the one place that surely offers salvation and a safe haven she can call home. But what haven could possibly exist for one who bears the forbidden? Will Rima find her salvation, or will crushing loss, hardship, and burden of carrying the forbidden first destroy her from inside out? So that is that, and like I said, there's book 2. But yeah, see the size difference? Like, let's see. So book 1 is it's less than 300 pages. It's yeah, 287. So it's almost 300 pages. Meanwhile, you have book 2. Yeah, so 508. So yeah, that's a pretty big size difference compared to the first book. Okay, now let's see what I got at Black Castle. So I only got 2 books, because it was like a buy one get one free, and I spent even less than I expected I would spend. There. So first, I got The Revolution of Marina M. by Janet Fitch. Oh, and this is the author of White Oleander and Paint It Black. I never read White Oleander, but I've seen bits and pieces of the movie adaptation. So this is a Russian novel set in early 1900s. And it's Marina Makarova is a young woman of privilege, aching to break free of the constraints of her genteel life, a life about to be upended. Swept on the tides of the Russian Revolution, Marina will join the marches for workers' rights, fall in love with a radical young poet, and betray all that she holds dear, before being betrayed in turn. As her country experiences unimaginable upheaval, Marina's coming of age unfolds, marked by deep passion and devastating loss. Written in lush, powerful prose, The Revolution of Marina M is the epic story of one ordinary, indomitable woman's journey through some of the most dramatic events of our era. So that sounded really cool. The whole revolution and everything. And I think I actually seen this at the roast office. So, which it would have been cheaper probably to buy it there, but I wasn't sure if I was interested in it or not. So I almost wish I had bought it there, but I finally got it, but I got it either way, so, and I did not pay that much. So this is, I'm wondering if Olive from Book Olive tried this book. Although she always talks about she doesn't have the best experience with literature, Russian literature. And I don't know if that includes, historical fiction that takes place in Russia too. But like when I say Russian literature, I mean all with like the classics, like War and Peace and Crime and Punishment and all the the Master and Margarita and all those. I know that she has not had the best experience with those, but I'm curious if she's read this one yet. I don't know. Let me see. What's the copyright date for this one? When did this come out? All the blurbs. More blurbs. Okay, here's the page where it says. Okay, so yeah, 2017. So it's not that old. A few years. 2017. So I wonder if she's read it. And then the other one that I bought there was, like I said, there was a buy one, get one free. So one of these I didn't pay for. Or, was free. That's, not, like one of these was free. So I don't know which one, I'll have to look at my receipt. But, next is Forever Amber. This is one of those historicals where the woman, she, plays in the, gets caught up in political games and, has to survive on her own. Over 3 million copies sold. Wow. It is a historical romance. So, like I said, I'm not totally against historical romances. Like, I definitely probably would prefer historical romances when it comes to the romance department, and like as far as contemporary romance, I would probably prefer watching it over reading about it. But I'm gonna go ahead and read the back. Banded, pregnant, and penniless on the teeming streets of London, 16-year-old Amber St. Clair uses her wits, beauty, and courage to climb to the highest position a woman can achieve in Restoration England, that of favorite mistress of merry monarch Charles II. From horrors and highwaymen to courtiers and noblemen, from the Great Plague and the Fire of London to the intimate passions of ordinary and extraordinary men and women, Amber experiences it all. But throughout her trials and escapades, she remains in her heart true to the one man she really loves, the one man she could never have. Which I'm wondering, so guessing that's probably Charles II. It's probably the one man she loves. But, ooh, there's a map. I wish I could bring one of these books that takes place in London with me, when we go on our trip, but it'll be kind of hard to travel with this, so I'm sticking to the Kindle. So that is my book haul and my Bookish update. So, have you read any of the book? Have you come across and read any of these books that I've just showed you? Please feel free to let me know. Like I said, don't let me know if you didn't like them, or don't tell me that. As Simon from Simon Savage Reads says, I want to read the books for myself or decide for myself, because I have a living, booktubers and Goodreads influence if I'm going to give a book a chance. And sometimes I end up changing my mind later about the book. Like I said, that is what happened with The Magicians, where I thought I was, to be fair though, I did start to read it, so, but yeah, I want to break that habit, not letting that influence me too much. But anyway, if you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, click subscribe if you haven't, click the bell notification button below if you want to be notified when I upload videos. And I hope you are enjoying your reading, and I will talk to y'all later. Alright, bye!